All right, so the first thing that I do when I get my class data mat is think about the subject that I'm teaching. So I know that this term I'm teaching Year 11 hospitality, and I know that it's mostly prac based. So the first thing that I like to see are student attendance. And I guess when they're highlighted in red, I know that that would be an area of concern. And the reason why that is because we cook one lesson a week. And so if they're missing that lesson during the week, then there's no way for them to demonstrate their prac skills, and that would influence whether or not or their ability to pass the subject. So I can see, so there's student 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 students that have been highlighted in red for lacking in attendance, and I would look further into what day that is and the reasons behind why. And I guess some of the reasons behind why they might be away, a lot of students that are in hospitality are doing traineeships or apprenticeships or something like that. And also usually hospitality students are only there for a good time to cook. So that means that their attendance in general at school can be poor, and that they're only, coming and going as they please. So in here I usually put the next thing that I look at after attendance is their level of achievement, or LOA. So I can see who is failing some of their subjects. So I can see student 3, who we flagged earlier for lack of attendance, has failed 2 subjects. And the reason I'm looking at that is because for hospitality, it's not theory heavy, so to speak, or it's not literacy heavy. And so generally speaking, if students are passing their subjects, then they would be able to handle the literacy requirements in hospitality. So I'd be pretty confident that if they've passed their other subjects, that they could pass hospitality. So the information that I get from their LOAs, I would also look into whether or not they need more scaffolding in the class. So they might need extra handouts or extra one-on-one time just to deconstruct and chunk the task a little bit more so that they have more success in it. But that's something that, I'll do on an individual basis to see where they're at and what they needed. Also for hospitality, the next thing I look at is behaviour. So it's important to me, especially in a high-risk subject area, that I have students that can be trusted with equipment that can cause injury. So I'm looking to see the behaviours, and I know in our school that we have minor and major behaviours. It doesn't break it down like that. I'd be more likely looking to see major behaviours. So when I see that, say, student 3 has 24 or 20 behaviours during the year, I'd be looking in her One School profile to see what kinds of behaviours they are. Is it just like things like jewellery or phone or signing in late, or is it that, she's had a punch on in the playground or stabbed someone and is going to bring a knife to school? So they're the things that are important to me to know. I need to have kids that I can trust to carry out tasks, supervised or unsupervised, especially if we're catering for a function. I need to know that they can do what they're told and do it well. So I can see here, there's a few. So student 2 has 20 and 17 behaviours, 3, 24 and 30. So I just would really want to be looking into if they're major or minor and what kinds of behaviours they are. That would be concerning to me. So the next thing I look at in my class data is to see whether I have any students with a DDA. So that's this yellow spot, and I can see that in this class there's 3. And I would look at whether or not they need TA support, and that's especially important for a prac area. So because we are dealing with things that can injure you or equipment that can injure you, I need to know that they are supported and will be able to get through the task. Alright, so I'm checking to see that they have TA support, especially important on the prac day, but also generally speaking, if they need help with the written part of the tasks. Okay. Another thing that I look at as well is this purple dot, which shows at-risk students. So that's telling me that students have already had probably a COE1 meeting or an at-risk meeting with the head of senior school and the deputy, and that's telling me that they need to be passing their subjects in order to get their QCE. So I would be checking in with those students more often to see that they're on track to pass, so that they're going to get their QCE and not be at risk. So okay. All right, the final thing that I look at, and especially in hospitality, is the number of international students I have. So I know that this term, they don't have photos yet. I've got 8 international students in my class. So they come with varying degrees of skills. And I know a lot of the time different cultures have different experience in cooking or not. So I want to know what skills they have before they get into the kitchen, and that might be me just chatting with them beforehand. And by skills, I mean, some students might have a cook or someone at home that cooks their meals, so I would be assuming that potentially that student needs more assistance in reading recipes, interpreting recipes, and the skills needed to complete them. The other thing that I would be mindful of is their level of English, and again, I ascertain that by talking with the students, having a conversation with them and seeing how much they understand me or not. And I'll often try and pair them up with an Australian student or potentially another international who has a really high level of English, and that will help them in the classroom, especially in prac. I find that prac is more concerning than their written work. I find that most of the time they're fine with the written work and getting the assignments done, but it's just the prac that is most concerning. So I'll pull out EAL, as in English as a second language, and that would be my international students. So I have 8 students, and I'll be looking to see where they're from as well, because there are some correlations between the country they're from and their level of English, and in my experience, that is what happens. So that is what I've done with my data.